Okay, so looks like we are live. Okay, let me share this broadcast with the boys here. See if there's some people live here. See, let's see what's up. Okay, let me share it on Twitter because I said that I was gonna be streaming in 10 minutes. Okay, let me copy the link actually. Actually, let me copy the link because I want to tweet it out as a reply to a previous tweet that I had. There we go. Here we go. Okay, let's do the same on Insta. Let's do the same on Insta. Video has not started yet, guys. This is just letting people know that I'm live. If you guys want to join live, as always, if you miss the live stream, you can always go back and rewatch it. And okay. Alright, so we got COTA weekend. It's Circuit of the Americas weekend in Austin, where everything's bigger in Texas. As you guys know, I love COTA. COTA is one of the better road course races of the season. Unfortunately, this weekend, or rather the start of this weekend, both Trucks and Xfinity, they were good racing, but they were also really frustrating. It could have been a lot better. Regardless, first road course race of the season. Again, best road course in my opinion, like I said. A lot of road course ringers for this race as well on all three series, and a lot of storylines to follow. Starting with the truck race. Let's talk about Connor Stillage. He got the pole because this kid is something else. He got the pole in his first career NASCAR start. Got a new track record and a 1 second lead over second place. This kid is absolutely for real. Like, if you guys don't know who Connor Stillage is, he is the new Trackhouse's new development driver. They signed him for a 2-year development deal, and he's going to be running in several racing series. I do believe he's going to be running like in the Cars Tour, but he's also going to be running at IMSA. He's also going to be running ARCA, Trucks, and Xfinity, and maybe a couple of other racing series I don't know about. The kid is a wheelman. The kid is an absolute wheelman that you can just put him in any type of car he can, be it a late model, a stock car, or a sports car, and he will definitely excel. He already has won the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring. This was before he made his first NASCAR start. And again, he's only 17 years old. This kid, he is still in high school. He is a high school senior, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the fact that he got the pole in his first career, and this is not even his Truck Series debut, this is his NASCAR National Series debut across all three series, and he got the pole with a new track record and a 1 second lead over like the second place guy. He could become the third driver in the last 4 years to win their first ever NASCAR National Series start. You know, joining Ty Gibbs in 2021 and SVG last year. And to show you how much of a coincidence this is and how crazy that is, both Ty Gibbs and Van Gisbergen, that's SVG for those of you guys, but Shane Van Gisbergen, they did so on road courses and on different racing series. If you remember, Ty Gibbs, his Xfinity debut came in 2021. He won the Daytona Road Course. That was also his first career National Series start. Shane Van Gisbergen, his first career NASCAR National Series start came in the Cup Series at the Chicago Street Course last year, and he won. Connor Silich has the chance to do the same as Ty Gibbs and SVG, but in the Truck Series. And if he does it, he would have completed the trifecta. So once I realized that this stat, because this has happened, I do believe the last time this happened before Ty Gibbs, SVG, and that stuff, the last time this happened was with Johnny Rutherford in the 60s. I was just looking back, digging back for some older like NASCAR stats, and it was just so awesome because I just love it when you know I find this like obscure stats and when Connor Silich. So he was definitely my pick to win the truck race. Again, kid is a real deal. Trackhouse, they hit the nail on the head with this one. But he wasn't the only one on this race. Corey Heim was also fast. He started second. Taylor Gray in third, continuing his amazing start to the season. Nick Sanchez fourth. Ross Chastain in fifth. And then we got another road course ringer in Jack Hawksworth in sixth. He is an IMSA driver. And then Tanner Gray seventh. Lane Riggs eighth. Ty Majeski ninth, and Christian Eckes right now the top 10 in qualifying. Other notable drivers throughout the field for the truck race, of course. Bailey Curry 15th. Stephen Parsons in 19th. Lawless Allen in 20th. Jack Wood in 22nd. Then Marco Andretti making his first Truck Series start of the season. He will be starting 28th. Then Fartuk, I do believe he's a road course ringer. He started 29th. Then Vicente Salas, an iRace driver. If you have followed the iRacing scene for quite a while like I do, you will know who Vicente Salas is. He's making his Truck Series debut for Young's Motorsports in the number 20. Dale Quarterly 33rd. Like Marco Andretti, he's also making his season debut, first start of the season. Then Ben Rhodes 34th, and Thad Moffitt in 35th will start at the back. Only 35 cars showed up this weekend, so no one failed to qualify. But the 99 and the 46, they did not post a qualifying time. 99 because of a mechanical issue. I believe it was because of some spring or whatever. And the 46 had a power steering failure, and because of this, they will be starting at the back. As well as Christian Eckes. I mentioned he qualified 10th, but he will be starting at the rear for a transmission change, as well as Ty Dillon, Fartuk, Lawless Allen, Bailey Curry, and Marco Andretti. So with the stage set and the curtain up, on the very first corner of the race, like on the very first lap, Connor Silich just blew the very first corner. He locked the brakes up and all hell just broke loose. His race just went south for that moment on. Taylor Gray took the lead, but he got penalized twice. Once for jumping the restart because the restart zone was moved to the start on the front stretch. And once again for cutting the course, so he got to make a pass through. Tanner Gray came out of it with the lead, with Corey Heim and Nick Sanchez battling for second. And then Tanner Gray also got a penalty for cutting the course as well. So the Gray brothers, it was a really tough scene out there for the Gray brothers. But there was bidding and banging all throughout the stage and all throughout the race, as a matter of fact. So there were a couple of cautions for that. The first caution came early with Ben Rhodes, Dale Quarterly, and Boyd making contact. It ended with a big tire up for the 12, and while nursing the car back to pit road, the tire goes flat and leaves debris behind, a tire carcass, I believe. Unfortunately, during this, Connor Silich, he had to pit due to a flat left front tire, and also they had to replace a front sway bar, I believe. He fell a lap down, which was a tough start to his race already. The restart was much better than the start, more organized. You could also attribute that to the fact that, at the start, the NASCAR, they moved the restart zone a bit back to at the start of the front stretch to spread the field out more and prevent situations like the 2023 last year's Cup race that ended in 4 overtimes from happening. it created a bit of chaos for the truck series because they hadn't adjusted like at the start of the race. But this restart was much better on the start, more organized. Lane Riggs, he tried to take it 3 wide for the lead, but he was unable to make it stick. So this allowed Corey Heim to take the lead with Nick Sanchez in second. Lane Riggs stayed in third there. Some incidents that happened during this green flag run. Stuart Friesen, he got spun twice on the same lap. Marco Andretti also got involved in the second spin, which was like coming up of turn 20 into the front stretch, and he almost got T-boned by Salas. So while all this is happening, Lane Riggs, he lost power and he slowed down on the front stretch. So his terrible season continues. You just cannot make this up. After last week's race at Bristol, I thought, his season was going to be better. And this was a track that Front Row Motorsports, they have had a lot of success. As a matter of fact, Front Row Motorsports, I do believe they are undefeated. They were undefeated at COTA entering this weekend. Because they had won with Todd Gilliland in 2021. And then the past 2 years, they have won it with Shane Smith. So entering the season, Front Row Motorsports, they were undefeated at COTA. And unfortunately, with Lane Riggs just struggling and their Truck Series program just struggling as a whole, unfortunately, he fortunately made it to pit road backwards though, so no caution. But unfortunately, that mechanical issue that he had will cause him to finish a couple of laps down, and he was out of the win. He finished the race running, but he was just out of the win, just finishing the race, just trying to finish the race. Another incident involved Tanner Gray making contact once again with Ben Rhodes. Or not Tanner Gray, actually Taylor Gray. Sorry, excuse me. It was Taylor Gray. He and Ben Rhodes made contact. The 17 came out of it with a big tire rub and he had to pit. Grant Enfinger also spun out. As usual, because stages are back, which again I just hate it. I just hated that. But yeah, before the stage ended, some drivers pitted. Corey Heim, Chastain, Hawksworth, Carruth, Enfinger. Chastain got penalized for speeding on pit road. But yeah, those were a few of the drivers who pitted. Sanchez assumed the lead after staying out, and he went on to win stage 1. Ty Majeski, Tanner Gray, Tyler Ankrum, they also stayed out. They gained big stage points after 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, respectively. Christian Eckes, after starting from the back, he finishes 5th in stage 1. Ben Rhodes in 6th, Chase Purdy 7th, Matt Crafton, Jack Wood, and Ty Dillon also get stage points due to staying out on pit road. By the way, Connor Silich, he got the free pass, so he is back on a lead lap and also back in the hunt. And that was literally the only good thing that came out of this caution now that I think about it, because I hate stage cautions on road courses. Why did they bring them back? Why can't they just, let the pit stops and the race just flow naturally? Why do they have to force, make this forced strategy instead of natural strategy? But yeah, we go to pit road. Those who stayed out at the end of the stage pit. This gives the lead back to Corey Heim. Daniel Dye has a long stop. The team goes under the hood to repair something. I believe it was something mechanical, but he came back to the track 4 laps down. Moving on to stage 2. Jack Hawksworth, he got the jump on Corey Heim, but the 11 came right back to retake the lead. While all of this is happening, Roger Carruth was 3rd. Connor Silich, now back on the lead lap, he starts to quickly make its way back into the top 20. Unfortunately, as it basically was the name of the race, it ain't easy. His efforts were hampered once again when Ankrum just spun him out and it caused him to fall back. So as the stage goes on and the field spreads out, we obviously get less action. The running order still gets shaken up a bit because of penalties. Matt Crafton, Nick Sanchez, they get penalized for cutting through the SS. Both were running in the top 10. Connor Silich, he had made it. He was running 17th at the time. He also got penalized for running through the SS. We also got a couple of incidents too. Sanchez also spun out after contact with Jake Garcia. I believe this happened after serving his penalty. Lawless Allen, he also spun out after some contact with Daniel Dye. And he could not get his truck back going, unlike Sanchez. So this eventually brought out the next caution. And this caution came out while Ekes, Majeski, Taylor Gray, those guys were pitting. Sorry, just sneezing a little bit. But yeah, the caution came out while Ekes, Taylor Gray, and Majeski were pitting because this caution happened like towards the end of the stage. Connor Silich was also serving his pass-through at the time. So we go to pit road. Most of the leaders pit because of that. Corey Heim wins the race of pit road. And Ekes, he counts off second, but he has to restart at the rear due to also, cutting the course. Turns out he also cut the course, and NASCAR decided to send him to the back during that caution. More on that later. I have a lot of things to say about this cutting the course penalties. As you will know by the title of this video, they really pissed me off, especially in the Xfinity race. But again, more on that later. Stuart Friesen, Roger Caruth, Taylor Gray, Ty Majeski, and Vicente Salas stayed out. Nick Sanchez stayed longer. He made like an extended stop to make some additional repairs. The restart is a 2-lap shootout. Stuart Friesen goes a bit wide. Him and Raja, they get passed by Ben Rhodes and Corey Heim. And then Heim just comes out of it with the lead on fresher tires, and he goes on to win stage 2. Ben Rhodes, he hangs on to like a 4th place finish on the stage after Ty Majeski and Jack Hawksworth get by him for 2nd and 3rd respectively. Then Taylor Gray in 5th. Connor Silich, he made it all the way back to 6th. Roger Caruth, Tyler Ankrum, Dean Thompson, Matt Crafton, they all round out the top 10 for stages. Tanner Gray and Ross Chastain, they were running top 10, but they lose out on stage points after they both spin out on the last lap. So that's how Dean Thompson and Matt Crafton, they managed to get those final 2 top 10 spots for stage points, because Tanner Gray and Chastain were in the top 10. So the leaders stay out on pit road this time around. The only guys who pit are Tyler Ankrum, Roger Caruth, Ben Rhodes, Friesen, Garcia, Bailey Curry, Salas, Tanner Gray, and Mason Massey. Caruth and Ankrum, they make an extended stop to make some repairs to the front end of the car. So they will be restarting at the rear, or towards the rear. Then we go to stage 3. Corey Heim leads once again, while Ty Majeski and Connor Silich battle for 2nd. A battle which the 7 eventually wins out. Ekes unfortunately gets another penalty for cutting through the SS. Also Stephen Parsons, he was running top 10. We also had a couple of incidents. Chase Purdy getting spun out after a few laps after, the cutting the course penalties for Ekes. Purdy also got spun out after some contact with Lane Riggs. In the final laps, as the race winded down, I definitely expected Connor Silich to make a run at the race for Corey Heim, but it looks like, with all of the incidents that he had and him just working his way back up through the field, it looked like he had used all of his stuff up. Either that or just compared to Corey Heim, so his car was a bit better. Connor Silich's car, or truck, because it's a truck series. I don't know why I keep saying car subconsciously, but his truck had been a bit bruised and battered. Speaking about Connor Silich, of course. So because of that, by the time he got to 2nd place, he just had nothing to challenge Corey Heim for the lead, because unlike Silich, Heim just had a very his truck was very good all race long, and he stayed up front all race long. So because of this, the 11 truck, he opens up to a 9-second lead. He was the guy to beat all race long. Unlike Silich, he had no issues and he kept the car clean up front. Connor Silich just had everything but the kitchen thrown at him. And eventually Silich, at the end of that run, he started losing spots. He lost 2nd to Ty Majeski. He lost 3rd to Taylor Gray. He also got penalized for cutting the course, as well as Tyler Ankrum. But yeah, just a really sad way to go out for Silich after so many expectations that I had out of him. But anyways, Corey Heim, he looked to cruise to an easy win until another caution, just a couple of corners before he took the white flag. This happened with about 2 to go, but another caution came out for Lawless Alan, stopped on the racetrack. So anyways, the leaders stay out. Connor Silich, Ty Dillon, Enfinger, Crafton, Tanner Gray, Ankrum, Jack Wood, Matt Mills, Timmy Hill, Garcia, Stefan Parsons. They were among those who pitted, but the leader stayed out. So the restart, it's 3 to go. It's not overtime yet. So Corey Heim, he holds the lead, while Dale Quarterly, Chase Purdy, they have a spin in the back. Thankfully, there's no caution. So it looks like this race will end cleanly, which is, again, a surprise for Truck Series Standard. But then we get another caution right before the leader takes the white flag too. I mentioned how I believe I mentioned that Lawless Allen was a caution that happened before that sent us into overtime. No, this was the caution that sent us into overtime. I guess I mixed up some of my notes there, but this is the caution that sent us into overtime for the truck race. Because both races, Trucks and Xfinity, they ended in overtime. If you watch the races, you know what I'm talking about. But this was a pretty WTF moment. Another one of those WTF moments of the year. And we're only like 6 weeks in, and we've already had a couple of those, like most bizarre moments of 2024. Marco Andretti, his truck just lost the entire rear end, like the entire thing, the housing and everything, with both tires still attached. Like, I have never seen that before. And this brings out a red flag to remove everything, which honestly I don't understand why. Like, I understand why, but you know, it may seem unnecessary, but like, I understand why, because the track was not blocked. Thankfully, no damage to the 04 car. He did not hit anything. The thing just came off and he spun out. But I think it was because the leaders were a bit short of fuel, which is why they red flagged the race. So they wanted to allow the leaders to save fuel without losing track position. And it's a dicey situation for the leaders by the time overtime comes around. Thankfully, no one runs out of fuel. Also, thankfully, there are no more cautions. Corey Heim, he made every drop of fuel count, despite some like mini heart attacks that I had, because you know, after dominating that race, it would be such a travesty for Corey Heim to just lose the race because he ran out of fuel. I saw him on the straightaway just a little bit, you know, zigzagging a little bit. You know, when a driver just zigzags their car like that, it means that they're trying to get more fuel on the car. It could also mean that they run out of fuel. So, but yeah, Corey Heim, it turns out that he made every drop of fuel count. He hung on, and he won his first race of the season. And he still had a couple fuel, he still had some fuel left to do a burnout. So yeah. With this, Corey Heim has become the only driver to finish top 10 in each of the first 5 races of the season. Once again, he's looking like the title favorite just like he did last year. Heim time is still going strong. We may not have gotten the Connor Silich masterclass that we expected, but still we got Heim time. I'm still satisfied with that result, especially since Connor Silich, he had a great he still had a great showing to end the race. Connor Silich, he finished 4th in this race. After all he went through, this feels like a win. He finished 4th. He was like a couple of a couple of corners more, and he could have definitely passed Majeski for 3rd, because when he crossed the line, he was just about to pass Majeski for 3rd. But Connor Silich 4th. After all he went through, this feels like a win. I know he didn't lead a single lap. I know but after all the issues he had, this just feels like a win, honestly. So, the only drivers that finished between Heim and Connor Silich: Taylor Gray 2nd, Tricon with a 1-2 finish, Ty Majeski in 3rd, then Ross Chastain in 5th, Jack Hawksworth in 6th, then Ben Rhodes in 7th. I do believe this is his first top 10 finish of the season, so, you know, about that time for the defending champion. Christian Eckes in 8th, Dean Thompson 9th, and Tanner Gray in 10th. So, you know, there were some penalties, you know, for example, like Matt Crafton, he finished 23rd. He got a 30-second penalty. He got originally finished in the top 10. Matt Mills, he also had a 30-second penalty. He finished 25th when he was running like around mid-pack. Roger Caruth, he finished 15th. He was given a 30-second penalty for cutting the course in the final lap that was, you know, later rescinded, I believe. But yeah, this is his first finish outside the top 10. Entering this race, him and Corey Heim, they were the only drivers that had finished top 10 in each of the first 4 races. Raja didn't finish top 10, so now Corey Heim stands alone as the one guy that, is a top 10 machine to start the season. Stuart Friesen, he finished 20th. He got a penalty, but like Raja Karuth, it was rescinded. So this allowed drivers like Dean Thompson and Tanner Gray to sneak into the top 10. And with Corey Heim, Tanner Gray, or Taylor Gray and Jack Hawksworth also finishing in the top 10, this means that Tricon, they finished 1st, 2nd, 6th, 9th, and 10th. 1, 2, 6, 9, 10. Tricon just put all 5 of their trucks in the top 10. So that's definitely a marquee day for them. Other drivers that had a good runs: Ty Dillon in 11th, Jack Wood in 13th, Bailey Curry 16th, Timmy Hill 17th. Nick Sanchez, he had a shot at the top 5 finish, but he unfortunately got spun out by Hawksworth on the overtime restart. And then Stefan Parsons in 19th after a couple of spins. Fartuk in 21st, Chase Purdy 22nd, Tyler Ankrum 24th, again because of that penalty. Dale Quarterly 26th, Lane Riggs 27th, Daniel Dye 28th, Marco Andretti after that bizarre incident, he just finishes with a DNF in 31st. Lawless Allen in 33rd after causing 2 cautions for being stolen the track. He eventually DNFs, he finishes 33rd. And then Vicente Salas and Mason Massey 34th and 35th, the 2 Young's Motorsports cars. It looks like they just parked it towards the middle of the race. I don't know if they had like a mechanical issue or stuff like that. But yeah, the trucks kept it cleaner than I thought, even amidst all the beating and banging, late race restarts, course cutting penalties, fuel mileage drama. Like, most of the chaos, don't get me wrong, it was a crazy race, it was a chaotic race, but it was not a wreckfest. Not the wreckfest type of crazy. Obviously, Connor Silich stole the show. Like, every time he moves up through the field, something happens, and he has to move back, and then he has to slice and dice his way through the field. I really wish the broadcast, they just gave Silich more, they just paid more attention to Silich and his, him moving up through the field. Obviously, we expected more out of Connor Silich, but the fact that he overcame adversity to finish top 5 and he gained experience, that was definitely, it was definitely a treat to watch. I wish he didn't have to go through that much adversity, because I do believe if he kept his truck clean, he would have challenged Corey Heim for the win for sure. Like, him and Corey Heim, they were the class of the field. If you watch practice and qualifying, if you look at that practice and qualifying, they look to be the 2 guys to beat, obviously. But yeah, anyways, stage cautions suck though. Final thoughts on this race: stage cautions suck. So, anyways, let's move on to the Xfinity race now. Even with the truck race going to overtime, because the race started at 1:30, I believe with all the overtime and the red flags, the truck race ended at around 4 p.m.-ish. Xfinity was starting at 5 p.m. anyway, so there were no delays in that regard, thank goodness. So, looking at Xfinity, Larson was on the pole, with a new track record as far as the Xfinity series is concerned. And as a matter of fact, all 3 series featured new track records this in the same weekend, because in addition to Kyle Larson in Xfinity, Connor Silich in trucks, Ty Gibbs, he also set a new track record during practice for the Cup race. He was definitely the fastest guy in practice. He also set a new track record. So yeah, other drivers that were notable, qualified, that you should keep an eye on. Shane Van Gisbergen in 2nd, definitely a guy to look at when it comes to road courses. Ty Gibbs in 3rd, again, like I said, just set the new track record in Cup Series practice. Chandler Smith in 4th, then AJ Allmendinger in 5th. The other half of who you should look at our road course. Sage Karam in 6th, Sheldon Creed 7th, Cole Custer 8th, Josh Williams 9th, and Sam Mayer 10th. Josh Williams, Daniel Hemrick, he practiced and qualified the car for him because Josh Williams was out on paternity leave, had to be there for the birth of his child. So, congrats to Josh Williams for that, on the birth of his new baby girl. But yeah, he will be starting at the rear, obviously. But Daniel Hemrick, he qualified the car in the top 10, so that 11 car in the top 10. So, good for that team that desperately needed a good run. And Sam Mayer running out the top 10. Then going through the field, like I said, there were a couple of road course ringers. Like all three series feature some road course ringers in a way. Ed Jones, 16th, former IndyCar driver, current IMSA driver. Daniil Kvyat, former Formula One driver. He finished he qualified 22nd. Also, John Hunter Nemechek, he qualified 20th. Just worth mentioning. Then we have David Green. Not David Green. Austin Green. Austin Green, the son of David Green. He qualified 25th. He is making his series debut. Yes, he is the son of David Green. That David Green, the 1994 Busch Series champion, David Green, also the nephew of Jeff Green, Busch Series champion in the 2000 season. Yep, that same Austin Green. He is an SCCA driver that is now making the transition to NASCAR. Then we go Ty Dillon in 28th, pulling out the double duty because he was in the truck race earlier yesterday. Because I'm making this video before the Cup race. Brad Perez in 31st, then Patrick Gallagher in 33rd in place of the regular driver Dawson Cram, Hailie Deegan 35th, R.C. Anderson 37th, and Ryan Ellis 38th. Only 2 drivers failed to qualify. There were 40 cars that showed up. Unfortunately, Kaz Grala driving the RSS 28 car in place of the regular driver, I believe it's CJ McLaughlin, and Preston Pardus in the 50, they failed to qualify. So let me double check here. Okay, I'm just reviewing my notes here. I'm just reviewing some of my notes here because we had several drivers going to the rear. I do believe there were 9 exactly that went to the rear. So I want to make sure that I got this all right. Want to make sure I got this one right. So okay, so it turns out that we had several drivers going to the rear. The most notable of those were Kyle Larson and the pole sitter Larson and Ty Gibbs for unapproved adjustments. Also Sheldon Creed and John Hunter Nemechek. So 3 out of the 4 JGR cars went to the rear. Anthony Alfredo, Daniil Kvyat, Hailie Deegan, also Josh Williams, like I said, he was on paternity leave. Daniel Hemrick practiced and qualified the car in his place. And also Leland Honeyman, because of too many failures during pre-race inspection, he will also have to do a pass-through penalty on the first lap. So, with Larson and Ty Gibbs sent to the rear, Allmendinger ends up starting on the front row alongside Van Gisbergen, alongside SVG. So from the get-go, we already have the Allmendinger SVG battle with all wanted to see on road courses, which is another storyline that we will be seeing a lot in the Xfinity Series this season. It's how many races can Allmendinger and SVG win? Because with those 2 drivers, it doesn't matter how bad Kaulig racing is or how down bad they are, you can always count on Allmendinger and SVG to put on a show on those type of cars. So yeah, Allmendinger, SVG front row to start the race. Chandler Smith tries to challenge AJ for second, but he ends up getting spun out by Sammy Smith behind him. This allows for SVG and Allmendinger to clear ahead of the field and battle for the lead amongst themselves. By the end of the stage, they have pulled out to a 10-second lead by the end of the stage over the 3rd place car. SVG ends up leading the first chunk of laps until around lap 10 when Allmendinger just made his move and took the lead for himself. While all this is happening, Larson, Ty Gibbs, they started to work their way up to the front. Some incidents that we had throughout the first stage. Daniel Kvyat, he spun early in the race. I believe he was on lap 3. And we also had a lot of cutting the course penalties, especially through the SS, which is the only zone of the track where like track limits are enforced. Ty Dillon, John Hunter, Jeremy Clements, Austin Hill, Ty Gibbs, they were all penalized for cutting the SS in stage 1. It was a tough break for Ty Gibbs, especially as he had worked his way to the top 10. And Austin Hill was also running in the top 5 at the time of the penalty, so a tough break for him too. Sheldon Creed, he got a battery issue. He went to the garage to replace the battery. He did came back, but he was 5 laps down, already out of contention for a good finish. Another incident that happened, it was between the JRM teammates of Sam Mayer and Justin Allgaier. They both made contact while racing in the top 10, and Sam Mayer ended with some right front cosmetic damage. Towards the end of the stage, we had several of the leaders pitting. Sam Mayer, Justin Allgaier, Cole Custer, Kyle Larson, Chandler, Smith, Jeb Burden, Ty Gibbs, Jesse Love, Brandon Jones, Austin Green, Ryan Sieg, Alfredo, Kyle Weatherman, John Hunter Nemechek, Josh Williams. Austin Green got penalized for speeding during that green flag sequence of pit stops. One of the few penalties that were not cutting the course related. This eventually brings both the leader and as well as the second place car, Allmendinger and SVG, down pit road. And their pit stops are absolutely horrendous. Obviously, because they had that big of a lead over the rest of the field, like a 10-second lead, they had a lot of margin for error, but still. AJ had a bit of a slow stop due to an issue with the air gun, but that was nothing compared to SVG. His car stalled out and he had to refire it. He did came out, but the gap between him and the 16 is widened to 7 seconds. Fortunately, it's the end of the stage, and stage cautions, unfortunately, are still a thing. But unfortunately for us, but fortunately for Shane Van Gisbergen, stage caution does come out with the stage 1 ending. Parker Kligerman, he stayed out and went on to win the stage with Sammy Smith second, Sage Karam in third, Parker Retzlaff, Riley Hurst, Austin Hill, Alex Labbe, Allmendinger, Bilicki, and SVG running down the top 10. Justin Allgaier in 13th. I only mention him because he got penalized for cutting the course at the end of the stage. So he will start at the rear of the field for stage 2. And I just want to mention Allgaier for a moment because his radio communication, it basically, the more the race went on, the more I started to look back at Allgaier's like radio communication, and I realized, man, this guy was speaking facts. Like NASCAR, they need to enforce their track limits penalty properly, and we'll get to that later. Again, trust me, I have a lot to say about that. I have a mini rant to say about that regarding after we get done with the Xfinity race. But yeah, the rest of the leaders pit. This gives the lead back to Allmendinger for stage 2. And he holds on to the lead while SVG falls to 5th after going a little wide in turn 1. He gets passed by Larson, Ty Gibbs, Jesse Love. Speaking of track limits, Sam Mayer gets penalized for cutting the course. He has to make a pass through. Jeremy Clements again also gets busted. And Josh Williams too, later in the stage. And it's a double whammy for the 11 as he gets penalized again for speeding while serving his pass through. So he has to make another penalty. And then a few laps later, his engine overheats and he DNFs. So that season, that top season for the 11 team, that top season for Kaulig, as far as the 11 team goes, it still continues. So we go we also have a couple of incidents on track. Custer, he gets spun out by Sammy Smith while battling for 5th with the other Smith, Chandler, and Jesse Love in the process. Jesse Love is collected, but he managed to continue. Like, he doesn't spin out, but Jesse Love, he got clipped on the right rear. This caused damage to the rear bumper cover, and it eventually leads to it flying off. No caution for debris. It lands off the The bumper cover lands off the track, so no penalty, no black flag. It's not a necessity on road courses. The rear bumper cover flying off or the rear bumper cover flying off is not a black flag as it is on ovals. On road courses, it's not a penalty or a black flag. So if you're counting at home, this is the second Smith that Sammy Smith has caused today, which, just pointing it out just for something that will happen a bit later in the race. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, we have an awesome battle for the lead up front between Allmendinger, Larson, Shane Van Gisbergen. This after, of course, Van Gisbergen made an awesome crossover move and pass on Ty Gibbs in turn 1. He did the same on Larson for second. The pass on Ty Gibbs was for third, and it was a couple of laps earlier. He did the same on Larson. Larson does it right back to him. Before this, they had also caught up to Allmendinger like the lap before, and they went 3 wide for the lead for a moment. That was just an awesome sequence. Watching a road course ringer, a road course ringer in AJ, dirt track racer in Larson, and a supercars racer in Van Gisbergen that is just starting to get his feet wet in NASCAR. That was an awesome sequence between 3 insanely talented drivers on road courses. So towards the end of the stage, again we see strategy, stage points. Most of the leaders pit. Austin Hill, Sammy Smith, Kligerman, Jesse Love, Sage Karam, Allgaier, Parker Retzlaff, Jeb Burton. I'm listing off all of the drivers that pitted. I got the list here. Jeb Burton, Sam Mayer, John Hunter, Austin Green, Weatherman, Alfredo, Brennan Poole, Haley Deegan. So I counted like 14 drivers who pitted before the stage ended. And then with Allmendinger, SVG, Larson, Gibbs, and Chandler, who do so the next lap, that's 19. So about half the field pitted. That's what I'm trying to say. Half the field pitted. Or rather most of the field, because Allmendinger and SVG and those guys, they got massive stage points at the end of stage 2. But John Hunter, Nemechek, and Jesse Love, they got penalized for speeding. Brandon Jones, he also stayed out, meanwhile. As for the guys who stayed out, Brandon Jones stayed out and he went on to win the stage on a strategy call, like what Kligerman did in stage 1. But unfortunately, because he cut through the S's on the last lap, he gets penalized, and apparently the penalty involves taking the stage win away from him, which it's a little too harsh in my opinion. I could have just sent him to the rear and be done with it. The broadcast, they also did a very poor job handling it, because there was some confusion as to whether NASCAR would just take the stage win away from Brandon Jones or not. I heard some chatter they were gonna award it back to him, but apparently, looking at the official report that Bob Pockrass he posted on Twitter after the race, when I looked at the stage points, it looks like they actually ended up taking away the stage win from him. So really tough break for Brandon Jones. Really stupid. Once again, track limits are bullshit. We'll get to that later. But the stage win is awarded to the guy who was runner-up. That is Riley Herbst. Cole Custer moves up to second. So Storehouse Racing 1-2 to end the stage. And then behind them, they're the guys who pitted. Allmendinger in third, Larson fourth, SVG fifth. Then Alex Labbe, Ryan Sieg, Josh Bilicki, Ty Gibbs, and Chandler Smith. They also earn stage points. Jeremy Clements, he also gets penalized for cutting the course a third time. He will also have to restart at the rear for stage 3. On pit row, the rest of the leaders, the guys who hadn't pitted yet, they do so now. This gives the lead back to Allmendinger for stage 3. And after a pretty extended yellow for some fluid that was reported on the track apparently from the 20 car of John Hunter Nemechek, like some leak that the 20 car had. But the race finally restarts with 12 laps to go. So Allmendinger holds the lead. Larson and SVG fight for second, with Ty Gibbs in fourth. They were the big four of the race, so to speak. When this race started, all of their eyes were on Allmendinger, SVG, and then Kyle Larson and Ty Gibbs. Like, they were the big four of the race. As for the battle for second, SVG, he does eventually beat Larson for second. Ryan Sieg gets spun out as well, but no caution, thankfully. We also get some beef. Sammy Smith, he loses the brakes and an issue with the rear axle as well. He makes contact with Chandler Smith. remember what I said about Sammy Smith, with these incidents with Cole Custer and Chandler. This is the third time overall that he has made contact with somebody, and the second time he's done that to the 81. So the other Smith, that is Chandler, he is fed up because, you do me twice, so shame on you do it once, shame on you. You do it twice, shame on me. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So Chandler Smith is fed up, and he spins the 8 out on purpose. So that is Smith on Smith violence, just straight up. Both of them have to pit to fix the damage from the contact. Obviously, Sammy Smith has an extended stop because of the axle, because of the brakes and the rear axle issue. This eventually causes him to DNF. He does not come back to the race after this. Jeb Burton. I don't know why I'm thinking about his younger cousin that is in the Cup Series, but Jeb Burton. He gets penalized for cutting the course. I believe this is the second time he got penalized. I don't know. I lost count of how many cutting the course penalties there were, but thankfully, I don't know if it was Bob Pockres who pointed it out or who kept the stats kept the stat there, but I eventually, when I dug through Twitter, I eventually got the number of how many drivers were penalized for cutting the course throughout both trucks and Xfinity. So, anyways, we go back to the lead, and it's go time. It's Allmendinger versus SVG. This is what we came to watch. This is why we tuned this race in, to watch the two best road course ringers in the series duke it out at Circuit of the Americas. And this time around, it's SVG who gets the better of AJ. He takes the lead with 9 laps to go. AJ Allmendinger flat spotting one of his tires. He certainly did not help. He was very upset at the radio at his crew chief for, and his crew chief had a little bit of banter over that. But this battle for the lead is so awesome. I did not want a caution to come out. I thought for a moment it would come out when Alfredo spun out, but no. Then I thought the caution would come out when Patrick Gallagher got into the gravel, but no, he managed to whistle his way out of it. So we wind down to the final 4 or 3 laps, and SVG has pulled away to a 2-second lead over Allmendinger, and he is well on his way to win. When unfortunately the caution does come out, Ed Jones gets spun out by Kyle Weatherman. He tries to get it going, but because fluid is leaking from his car, he can't get it going. He stalls out, and it brings out the yellow. The leaders on pit road, they stay out. The only drivers that pit are Kyle Larson, Parker Retzlaff, Riley Herbst, Josh Bilicki, Ryan Sieg, Patrick Gallagher, and Hailie Deegan. Kyle Larson pitted because he had a flat spot on his tires as well, like Allmendinger. So then we go to overtime. It's SVG and Ty Gibbs on the front row because Allmendinger, he restarted behind SVG on the inside. He wanted to send it into turn 1, but in a great display of, spotter communication and also, SVG just being an amazing road course racer, SVG blocks the attempt. And this causes the 16 to lose all his momentum. This causes Allmendinger to go wide in turn 1, getting into Ty Gibbs in the process, and then both of them lose spots. Austin Hill moves up to 2nd, and Sam Mayer gets up to 3rd. Daniil Kvyat spins out again, though unfortunately this leads to another caution, so this leads us into the race goes into double overtime because of another caution. Daniil Kvyat spins out again. This time he collects Leland Honeyman, Riley Herbst, and Ryan Ellis. All 3 cars with massive damage. I don't know if Honeyman DNF'd. I don't think he did, but Riley Herbst and Ryan Ellis, they definitely did. Allmendinger also gets penalized for cutting the SS, and he is not the only guy, and he is furious because with the flat spotted tire and also his failed attempt at getting the lead, being foiled by SVG, and also that penalty on top of that, he is not the only guy upset either. Because under caution, Ty Gibbs, he pulls up to AJ Allmendinger and he hits him in the back under caution. Looks like it was apparent retaliation for what happened on the restart. Again, not AJ's fault. Again, not Allmendinger's fault. I mean, He tried to make a move on SVG that unfortunately did not work out for him, and Ty Gibbs just got the and just got the bad, and Ty Gibbs, he got the bad end of the deal. Like, you cannot blame Ty for being mad, but hitting a guy under caution. I'm not a fan of that, especially when Ty Gibbs has a history of doing that in the Xfinity series in particular. Like, in the Cup series, he is more clean than you think, but in Xfinity, I don't know how to explain it. It's like he becomes a menace. But anyways, Allmendinger does his pass-through penalty, and he pits for fuel and tires while he's at it. Again, the leaders stay out again. So you already know that fuel, like in the truck race, fuel is starting to become a concern. But fortunately, like what happened in the truck race, none of the leaders run out of fuel, and we do not get another caution. Like, the race ends in double overtime. So we get to see an amazing duel instead of fuel mileage drama. We get to see an amazing duel between SVG and Mr. Where Did He Come From in Austin Hill. The 21 makes the same move he did on the previous restart to move up to second, and he sends the 97 wide. Because of this, Austin Hill manages to take the lead, and SVG now is the guy chasing him down. But Austin Hill plays amazing defense, and for a moment I thought, no way Austin Hill is going to steal that win after SVG just, he and Allmendinger were the guys to beat. No way is Austin Hill gonna steal that win away from Kaulig Racing. He played amazing defense for a lap and a half, that is. And you could notice the desperation that Van Gisbergen, he was just like, locking the brakes up a little bit. He was starting to lose it. And all the while, Larson, the guy who pitted for 4 tires like 2 cautions ago, he crept his way back to third on fresh tires, just like biding his time. Eventually on the last lap, on turn 15, SVG does give Austin Hill a shove in turn 15 on the last lap. Very reminiscent of what Chastain and Allmendinger's battle in the Cup race 2 years ago. This causes both of them to go wide, unfortunately, and that's the opening Larson needed to swoop in and steal the win away from both of them. So after all this battle, after Austin Hill and SVG just going to war on each other, Kyle Larson, neither of them end up winning the race, and instead it's Kyle Larson who steals the win on fresh tires. And just like that, the 17 car, the Hendrick 17 car, wins its first race in Xfinity. They had won before as a sponsor in that Hendrick car's paint scheme with several drivers like Larson at Watkins Glen, Larson again at Darlington. But as for the 17 car for Hendrick, they had never won with the 17 car, despite coming close so many times. Road America 2022 with Larson, Watkins Glen in 2022 with William Byron. Both of those attempts were foiled by Ty Gibbs, funnily enough. Then Darlington in 2022, the amazing wall ride with Sheldon Creed and Noah Gragson. And then Sonoma last year, the battle with Almirola and Allmendinger at Sonoma. This also means that with this win, the Hendrick 17, they have now won in all 3 NASCAR National Series, because they have won in the Cup Series with Darrell Waltrip, and then in the Truck Series they had also won that one race at Kansas in 2001 with the late Ricky Hendrick. Now they have won with the 17 car with Larson in Xfinity. So they have now won in all 3 National Series. So great job for another milestone for Hendrick in what has been their 40th, a historic, their 40th anniversary season. Just another milestone to add to that 40th anniversary yearbook. And in what a way too, because Larson had that race lost when he pitted before the first overtime. He was back in 24th, I believe. And sure, the restarts help, sure, and the laps at COTA are pretty long, but you still gotta give Larson his flowers. He had to battle through traffic. The guy came back in just 2 to 3 green flag laps to steal what looked to be SVG's first career Xfinity win, what looked to be another heel come out of nowhere win. That was an amazing drive from him. What a comeback from Larson. And at the line, after bidding and banging for the last 5 corners of the race, SVG, he manages to beat Austin Hill for second. But unfortunately, NASCAR determined that he caught the course on the last lap, despite the fact that he was following Austin Hill's line for most of that lap, or at the very least in the section where track limits are more enforced. I didn't see Shane Van Gisbergen stepping out of line in the S's, or in the zones where like track limits are more enforced. I didn't see anything wrong. So if you're gonna penalize him, just penalize Austin Hill too. No way he gets a 30-second penalty as a result of that. No way. No way NASCAR ruined an amazing finish with penalizing one of the guys involved in that amazing finish. No way they did that. And it's at this point where I gotta say, track limits are bullshit. You notice how throughout the video I listed how many cutting the course penalties there were in both trucks and Xfinity? That's because NASCAR, they defer to an AI instead of, actually enforcing the goddamn rule. Whatever the AI says stands, margin of error notwithstanding. We had 37 track limit penalties. 20 in the Truck Series, 17 in the Xfinity Series. My point is, track limits should not exist. If you're not gonna enforce a rule properly and instead rely on some AI to do the work instead of, actually reviewing the footage, just do away with it. If a rule is poorly enforced, it shouldn't even be a rule at all. In my opinion, and people are gonna disagree with me because they watch more Formula One, but this isn't Formula One. This is NASCAR, and in NASCAR, anything that is pavement is fair game. You don't want drivers going out of bounds. Don't pave the track then, or just just close the track off. Put some some temporary walls, or like some put some cones on top of that, like they do at the bus stop at Watkins Glen. But if you don't want drivers going out of bounds, if you're not gonna do any of that, then just don't pave the track then. Just put some like AstroTurf on top of that. I'm not a fan of putting gravel on it because then cars can get stuck and that causes the caution. But some grass or AstroTurf could do wonders. You don't like pavement. You don't like the pavement. If you don't want drivers going out of bounds, then don't pave that goddamn track. This isn't Formula One, but anyways. I really hope NASCAR, they have thought this overnight and they're more like lax with their track limits, because holy shit, if I see track limit penalties if I see like 15 track limit related penalties in the Cup race, I'm gonna lose it. I'm seriously gonna lose it. But anyways, that's just my 2 cents on why I think track limits are stupid in NASCAR. But anyways, let's go over the running order for the finishing results for the Xfinity race. Austin Hill with the penalty for Shane Van Gisbergen, which is bullshit. But Austin Hill moves up to second. This means that he has 5 top 5s to start the season, including 2 wins. Once again, championship favorite by far, just like Corey Jaimes in the Truck Series. Then John Hunter Nemechek finishes third, which the guy that result just came out of nowhere, because John Hunter, he started at the rear. He qualified pretty poorly even then, but he started at the rear anyways. He wasn't anywhere close near the top 10 until like the end of the race, so I don't know where that 3rd place finish came from. Again, the Fox broadcast, they didn't do a good job covering that, but still good stuff coming from that 20 car. Custer in 4th, Cole Custer in 4th, Parker Kligerman 5th. Great finish for him. Jesse Love in 6th. Austin Green 7th in his Xfinity debut. How about that? Then Chandler Smith in 8th. Sam Mayer in 9th. And AJ Allmendinger in 10th. So after Kaulig just flat out dominating the race between AJ and Shane Van Gisbergen, they have nothing but a single top 10 to show for it. That's gotta suck, man. That's gotta suck. Then we go down to the finishing results. Other drivers that were notable: Anthony Alfredo in 12th, Brennan Poole 15th, Sage Karam in 17th. I do believe he spun out on the last lap because he was running top 5. He was running top 5. I know when I saw like the Hill and Van Gisbergen and Larson battle, Sage Karam, I do believe he was running like 3rd and 4th on that final restart. And I saw some smoke in the background while the leaders were fighting at some point. So it could have been him who spun out because there's no other way I can explain how he got 17th. Let me see. Oh wait, actually yes, I made some note of that. Yes, Kligerman spun him out, and Sage Karam confronted him post race. Yeah, yeah, just watching the video of that. Yeah, Kligerman. Kligerman spun him out because why else would Karam be mad at him? He was running top 5. Then there was some smoke on the last lap, and he finished 17th. And then he is mad at Parker Kligerman. Yeah, he spun him out. He spun Kligerman out on the last lap. I don't know exactly what happened, but based on those events that I mentioned, we can infer that that's what happened. So, anyways, Brad Perez in 18th. Jeremy Clements in 19th. After 3 penalties of cutting the course, he still managed to come out of it with the top 20. Great job for Jeremy Clements. And Leland Honeyman 20th. Again, another top 20 for him despite being involved in a late race. Incident. Daniel Kivi at 21st as well. Ty Gibbs 24th. I don't know what happened with him. I don't know if he was penalized for cutting the course. It could have been. I don't know if he was penalized for hitting Allmendinger under caution, which I don't know. Which I don't know if that's even a rule. I don't know. But something happened. For all we know, he could have also spun out with Sage Karam, but I do believe Ty Gibbs was running top 10. I don't know exactly what happened, but then again, Fox, they do a pretty poor job with their coverage, so the less I think about it, the better. Patrick Gallagher 25th, SVG 27th after the 30-second penalty. He drops from 2nd all the way back to 27th. Ugh. Then we have R.C. Anderson in 28th. Sheldon Creed in 32nd after the battery issue. He managed to take advantage of some late race chaos to pick up a couple of positions, but still 32nd place is so little to show for it. Riley Herbst 34th. Brandon, is this Brandon Jones? I really doubt that's Brandon Jones. I just want to check because there were 2 Brandon Jones in this race. Let's see. No, that was Ed Jones. Ed Jones in 35th because of he DNF'd because of the leak that he had. Brandon Jones finished 16th. Okay, so yeah, it was Ed Jones who DNF'd, who finished in 35th. Sammy Smith, speaking of Brandon Jones's teammate, Sammy Smith, he DNFs after the incident with Chandler, with a brake issue, the rear axle or whatever. Ty Dillon in 37th, he DNF'd with a mechanical failure. I think this happened before stage 3. I believe the Fox broadcast they made a mention of Ty Dillon taking it to the garage before stage 3 started. So unfortunate for him. And Josh Williams in 38th, he DNFs due to overheating. Like I said, his nightmare season continues. He doesn't deserve any of this. Not the bad finishes, not the terrible luck, and definitely not the hate he got for skipping practice and qualifying, for going on paternity leave of all things. People are acting like, Josh Williams skipping practice and qualifying on paternity leave is a bad thing when other drivers have done it. When other drivers have done it in the past, it's like, oh, paternity leave is something that it's a right that should be earned. Like, good drivers have the right to be on paternity leave, but the bad drivers not. Like, come on, bro. That's such a stupid logic. But yeah, COTA is a good track. Like I said, it's the best road course on the schedule. The racing was solid on both Xfinity and Truck, but man, the track limit penalties and the way NASCAR enforces them, they just ruin a lot of that for me. They just ruined that for me. Get rid of track limits, NASCAR. If you're not gonna enforce them properly, just don't enforce them at all. This is not Formula One. Anyways, as I'm wrapping up this video, it's 3 p.m. so only 30 minutes before the Cup race. Okay, let's see what the Cup race has in store for us. Hopefully, I really doubt this because NASCAR wants to, keep their stuff consistent for all three national series. But a part of me, and this is some wishful thinking, hopefully NASCAR is more lax with their, with their cutting the course penalty rules. If a driver doesn't do it on purpose, it shouldn't be cutting the course. It shouldn't even be a penalty. If a driver gets forced out of bounds, it shouldn't even be a penalty. Rather just penalize the guy who forced the guy out of bounds. But yeah, track limits are bullshit. Anyway, I'm done.